Welcome back, everybody. This is Steve with Real Progressives again. We had some technical difficulties before, but Kshama was kind enough to come back with us so we could finish our broadcast. Welcome back, Kshama. Thank you so much.
Of course.
So let's talk about what does it mean to be a socialist. So much of America has been conditioned over the years to be fearful of the word. My poor mother, who voted for Bernie in the primaries, I talk to her about it all the time, and she goes, "Oh my goodness, please just make sure you're not a socialist." I said, "I'm sorry, Mom, I kind of am." So,
I'm glad you are.
well, exactly. So I want to make sure that let's take back the word socialism. Tell us, why are you a socialist, and what does that even mean?
Yeah, I think that's a very important conversation, especially because what's happening among the younger generation, among the millennials, not only are they leading in the feeling of wanting a rebellion against Trump, against the right wing, against Wall Street, but they're also in their own minds moving away from capitalism and towards socialism. So I would say that unlike the generations of the Cold War that grew up under the shadow of the Cold War, it's no longer the S word that's the dirty word. The dirty word is a C word. And it's very easy to see why. There's no mystery about it. Capitalism has clearly failed most of humanity, except for the billionaire class, but especially it's starkly clear for the millennial generation that they are not going to be able to replicate the standards of living that if they had middle class parents that their parents had. So you can see this not only in America, which is of course should be the most stunning because America is the richest country in the history of humanity, and yet you see half the population roughly living in poverty, if you have a real measure of poverty, as twice the federal poverty line. But globally, this can be seen in such a stunning way. Just a few days ago, we saw this new statistic from Oxfam International that 8 people, just literally 8 people, own the same wealth as the bottom half of the entire human population, that is 3.5 billion people. So you can see that the level of inequality is not only just merely unjust, which would be bad as it is, but this is on a scale. This inequality is on a scale that seems completely absurd to anybody who is even remotely honestly thinking about evaluating the system. And then on top of that, we had the other dire announcement in the news, which was that for the third year in a row, the global temperatures have gone up more than scientists had predicted even a few years ago. So with the climate change threat, looming over us in such an urgent manner, and the fact that capitalism, despite this incredible resource base, this unprecedented productivity of the human race, has not been able to deliver even the most basic modicum of living standards for the vast majority of the 7 billion people on earth, even though it can afford to, there's how much wealth there is. I think especially for the younger generation, is making it clear that we not only need an alternative to Donald Trump, which we do, but they also are starting to recognize that Donald Trump is a right-wing demagogue, but he's also just the most vile expression of a system that is rotten in itself, which is capitalism. And that is why people are looking for socialism. And that is why I'm a socialist and I'm a member of Socialist Alternative, because I do not believe that even the basic goals of ending poverty, homelessness, providing for basic living standards by providing housing, transit, education, healthcare, that this is possible on the basis of capitalism. And what I mean by socialism is a global society and economy that can provide decent and high living standards for all human beings in an environmentally sustainable manner. But in order for that to be achieved, what would we need? And this is important to talk about, because when I ask people, would you disagree with this vision for global society where everybody has a decent living standard and that we have warded off the threat of climate change? People look at me like, of course I don't disagree. I mean, how would anyone in their sane mind disagree with that? But what would it take to achieve that? What it would take would be to go, to go completely away from capitalism, to not have capitalism in the global economy, and have socialism, which would be taking into democratic public ownership all the major corporations of this world, the most rapacious, plundering corporations, take them into democratic ownership, and for us, the 99%, to democratically decide how to leverage this incredible resource space into providing for everybody's living standards, and not to feed the insatiable greed of the billionaire class. And when you confront that, when you confront what will be required to achieve socialism, that translates achieving socialism into a real political struggle. We will need to have not only mass movements to win some of the reforms that I was talking about earlier, like free education and healthcare, but our movements in the process of fighting for these and winning these reforms will have to clarify for itself that that will not be enough, that ultimately, if we are to truly go towards uh, a society that works for all of us, then we will need to break away from capitalism itself. And obviously, that's not going to be a straightforward thing, because the billionaire class that owns virtually all the wealth today is not just going to say, oh, yeah, that's a rational idea, let's do it. Of course not, which is why it will require a political struggle against big business, against Wall Street, against multinational corporations, against the oil lobby, against the political elite that primarily represent their interests. And we can only do that if we build and harness the latent social power from below globally, not just in our nation.
I'd like to talk to you about this, and this is, I don't know if we have enough time to really unpack this, but my passion is economics. And, some of the gentlemen and gentle ladies that I work with, Pavlina Cherneva and Ellis Winningham, Ellis being a socialist all the way, we subscribe to what we call a federal job guarantee that not only sets the minimum wage as a standard wage, but it also takes all the power away from the corporations to punish the worker. By taking away that ability to do it, it automatically lifts all boats. The federal job guarantee would set the bar for all benefits. It would set the bar so it could even be more than $15 an hour. And so we're very passionate about this. And if we can peg our economy to that, then all of a sudden we can look at, instead of just a basic income guarantee, we could look at a basic needs guarantee, because they can play games if you just give them a stipend. They can treat that like a voucher, like they would in schools, where the rich would still win. So if we could somehow or another peg ourselves to labor and make sure that labor has a voice, and that labor doesn't have to take just whatever's thrown at it. So the neoliberalism dies an ugly death as our transition from this capitalist economy to whatever our next world looks like. I really believe this is part and parcel to everything you just said. And it's the most exciting thing in the world to me. But I just wanted to throw that out at you. I don't know if you've ever even heard of it. And if you haven't, I'd love to talk.
I have, and if I might respond,
Sure.
just briefly. First of all, I share your passion for economics. I'm an economist myself, and so it definitely is, quite fundamental to understanding why we need a different kind of society. And of course, I completely agree with you. We should have an income guarantee. We should have a federal jobs guarantee. We should have far more than $15 an hour. I don't think in any honest way we can claim that $15 an hour is a living wage. It's not. But the question is not so much whether this demand is better than that demand, in the sense that, yes, of course, I want the very best that this world can offer for all living beings on this planet. So obviously, as a socialist, I have no intention of stopping at 15, nor do anybody that I work with in Socialist Alternative. But the question is a more concrete one. How would we go towards any of the things that you were talking about, a federal jobs guarantee? I mean, it's not that we should have a housing guarantee. Every human being, by virtue of being human, should automatically get access to, housing in a safe neighborhood, in a safe environment, lead-free, all of that. But how are we going to actually achieve that? How are we going to make that possible? In order to deliver these basic living standards for the vast majority of people in this world who currently do not have access to them, we will need to wage a political struggle against those who own the wealth right now that we need in order to make this possible, make all the things possible. And so for that to happen, we have no way of avoiding or shortcutting away from building mass movements. So if those of you who are watching agree that, if you agree with me that socialism is a vision worth striving for, then I want to share with you just the fact that will not, we can't wish it away, which is that without mobilizing masses of humanity, we are not going to get anything like socialism. We're going to have a hard time even winning basic reforms under capitalism, like single payer healthcare, like Medicare for all, which I think is a basic necessity. But even getting that will be extremely hard, if not impossible, if we don't mobilize masses of people. And so while we can debate and discuss, what are the exact components of a decent economy, and I think we all have really good ideas. There's no shortage of ideas. We cannot circumvent the political question of how we're going to get there and how we can get there. There is only one path to that, Steve, and that's mobilizing masses of people. And then mobilizing mass numbers of people then it's a political science. How do you do that? So just to give you one concrete example quickly, when we fought for 15 and made $15 an hour the most prominent on our campaign banner in 2013, we had no illusion that that's going to be enough. We know that's not a living wage in Seattle. But the science of mobilizing movements, requires us to ask the question, what is that political demand at this moment that we believe will galvanize? And so there was, 15 was in the air since 2012. Workers were starting to walk out in the name of 15, and it was becoming one of those electrifying slogans. And we could see, and organizing movements requires a little bit of prediction making, and Socialist Alternative predicted that $15 an hour, if we run on $15 an hour, it has the potential to galvanize the mass of workforce in Seattle, especially young workers who work in the fast food industry and in the service sector, will be ignited by this demand, and they will come and fight for it, which we will need to win it. So, obviously, Socialist Alternative was proved right in that prediction, and we did succeed in mobilizing a mass of workers. We succeeded in completely changing public opinion around $15 an hour in Seattle because workers mobilized into action. It required both me getting elected and tens of thousands of workers coming out on the streets and fighting for it. It required for us to set up the 15 Now coalition that young people led and played a leadership role in. All of that needed to happen to fight successfully against big business and their corporate Democrats who support them in order to win it. So that's the kind of framework we're going to need for any movement to succeed, and we're going to need successes like that to take the movement from winning reforms towards a genuinely socialist society.
I love it. So let me ask you a question real quick, because I know that one of the most important things about you have overcome incredible odds. You've got a stacked deck against you. The corporate Dems fight you all the time. How did you take this powerful message, be able to mobilize and win so other people can say, hey, maybe I can do that too?
I think fundamentally what we did in Seattle, what Socialist Alternative did, was throw the conventional political rule book out the window. They tell you, you want to build the left, don't rock the boat. Don't be so bold. Oh my God, do you have to say you're a socialist in every speech you give, everywhere on the campaign trail? You have to take money from corporate Democrats and corporations. You can't say you're not going to take money from big business because you have to be pragmatic. So I'm sounding facetious, but I'm dead serious. These are the things that you are told repeatedly by political pundits that this is what you need to do. What we did in Seattle was exactly the opposite. We were bold and militant in our campaign slogans. We not only did not take money from corporations, we declared ourselves as an independent candidate who refused to take a penny from corporations. We said we are neither Democrat nor Republican, we're socialists, and here is why we're socialists, and here is what it would take for us to win this election campaign, that workers need to fight with us. We need a grassroots campaign where working people, young people, even retirees, we have to come together. We have to have a massive door knocking campaign. And here is why you're fighting, this is your campaign. Have a sense of ownership about it. That is how we won. And you're right. We had everything stacked. We had the deck stacked against us, and yet we won against a 16-year incumbent Democrat who had in the past voted against paid leave for workers. So, go figure. But I think the lesson that we can draw from our experience in Seattle is, of course, everything I said, meaning running a genuine, independent working class campaign and not bending on certain basic principles, like not taking money from big business and being independent and not being bought out by any of these corporate lobbies. But I think the lesson goes deeper than that. We have to be very serious. If we're going to build a serious left, and even farther, if we are interested in building a social base that will fight against capitalism itself and go and take us towards socialism, then that's not going to be enough. If we are to have a serious approach towards politics and towards building movements, then we have to recognize that we cannot only run candidates if there's a chance of winning. We also are going to lose some campaigns. But what we need is a sustained effort that raises the banner of independent politics by empowering mass movements and by running non-corporate working class candidates as part of that movement, not having an artificial divorce between movement building and building a profile on the electoral trail, understanding that our candidates have to come out of this movement and have to be accountable to this movement. And we have to have fighting campaign platforms. We have to have really smart strategizing. And that can only happen if the rank and file of the movement have a say. I mean, the reason Socialist Alternative has been so effective in raising just the right kind of campaign platform at every moment is because it's not just a few people at the top who decide what's going to happen, like it is in the Democratic and Republican parties. No, we are a membership-driven organization where our entire membership participates on every key question related to any campaign we run. Should we participate actively in the Occupy movement? What are the demands we should raise for the LGBTQ movement? What is the campaign platform we should have? Should we run an electoral campaign? Who should the candidate be? What should our orientation be to the local Democratic Party? All of these essential questions, political questions, are thoroughly debated and discussed in our organization, and that is how we achieve a real clarity. But that is also the process by which our candidates are completely accountable to the movement. I'm completely accountable to Socialist Alternative and the movement that we are a part of. So that is the kind of effort that we need, and that's not going to happen. If we're being serious about this, that's not going to happen by only occasionally running a candidate and then hoping that we will win all the campaigns we will run. Of course, I have no doubt, Steve, that we are heading into an era of massive social upheaval where there is going to be more and more openings for independent politics. But we also have to contend with the reality that at this moment, most activists, most young people are still grappling with the question, is it even possible to build independent politics? That seems so out of reach. And I'm tired of the Democrats, but yet I'm still going to put my hopes in them. We have no hope of building independent politics if we alienate ourselves from those hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are at this moment in a very honest way grappling with that question. So what we need to do is to raise the question of independent politics in the context of our overall fight back against Trump, with the demands that we do have a mass agreement on.
I got to tell you, I was already impressed with you, but what you just said right now literally gave me goosebumps. I have never heard someone from the outside be so inclusive and so willing to literally help people that are stuck. And you said it with such compassion and foresight. I didn't anticipate it. I really appreciate that. You just went, I already thought you were way up here. Now you're like way up here. I'm serious. That was very powerful. I think if we could pass that over to other independent organizations that need to understand their power comes not from being angry, although that's part of it. It comes from being able to sell who you are as much as what you're not for. And you have done that
Yeah.
eloquently.
Absolutely, I really agree that we have to show what we are and what we're against. And I really agree with you, Steve. That we should not be angry. I mean, I will say about being angry, we should absolutely be angry and livid and unbending on Wall Street and the billionaire class. But we have to have a clear, idea that if we are to fight them, then we have to bring masses of people together. And we haven't even discussed the question of specific oppressions. I mean, how are we going to fight for Black people, for immigrants, for women on the specific issues that each of these groups faces, the LGBTQ community, without bringing people together? Marriage equality was one because LGBTQ activists took the lead, and then everybody else joined them in that fight, stood shoulder to shoulder with them. That is the kind of unity we're going to need, but on the correct basis, understanding that we cannot limit our movement to what's convenient for the corporate Democrats.
Yeah, I have one thing that I didn't plan on asking you, but I think it goes along with what we just talked about. So, there's this thing of managed dissent, where the powers that be allow us a certain level of, being edgy, being dissent, and they let you feel like you're doing something. But in reality, you've really they gave you a vent and they've let you, and they don't really care about you because they don't think you can do anything. What you're talking about is not managed dissent. You're talking about owning this movement, and you're talking about owning it in a way that is inclusive and bringing people in to know their power and to defy, to speak truth to the power that is, and do more than just speak it, be it. I cannot tell you how powerful your voice is in this movement to me. I really appreciate that, Kshama.
Thank you.
So with that, I want to give you a second to close out and let everybody know what's happening with you and what's next. And I hope I can have you back on. You're just an amazing woman. I appreciate everything about you.
Well, likewise, I really appreciate all the thoughtful questions you asked, Steve. It's really, really important. And thank you for taking this to all your listeners, because we need this broader dialogue. Without it, we're not going to succeed in fighting Trump, let alone, dismantling capitalism. And what I would say, is that we all urgently need to get organized around specific tasks. So some specific tasks that we could organize around immediately are, as I said before, March 8th, which is International Women's Day. Let's make it a day of defiance against the attacks on women, against all forms of sexual violence, for protecting Planned Parenthood. I have no doubt after Saturday that we have the potential to build mass protest rallies and, also, but bring in an edge of defiance into it and really demand that the representatives in Congress really act on the anger that is on the streets. And then similarly, Mayday needs to be made something like 2006. In 2006, immigrants had, a day without immigrants. Immigrant workers went on strike, and they were successful immediately in forcing the federal government to back down on a very regressive legislation. So there's that potential, there's that latent power. But this time, it shouldn't just be a day without immigrants. It should be a day without all workers who are fighting against Trump. And we can, because we have the potential, we can build for mass nonviolent civil disobedience actions on May 1st. And these are some things for the movement to think about. And we need, I would appeal to progressive institutions, organizations, labor unions to make bold calls for these kinds of protest actions, because there is a deep hunger for fight back. So, the time is ripe to do that. And I would also urge those of you who feel they agree with some of the points I've made, please check out socialistalternative.org. And if you're a student on a middle or high school or college campus, please check out Socialist Alternative and ask for more information about Socialist Students, which is a campus-wide organization that we're building. And just to let you know what they've already done, they organized thousands of Seattle students in 16 schools into courageous walkout and protest rallies on Friday. So we already know this can be done. So contact us. Let's build Socialist Students and Socialist Alternative and towards a socialist society.
Kshama, thank you so much. I really do hope you'll come back with me sometime soon. I love your husband, Calvin. Is great. We met for the first time when you guys spoke in the panel. and got to spend some time working with him, organizing for OI. So you guys are like super great in my book, and I hope I can talk to you again soon.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you so much. All right, folks, this is Steve and Kshama saying good night, everybody. Thank you so much for signing in. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.